This is WFO Radio.
WFO, what's up, everybody? Joe Castello back with you. We are cruising closer and closer to a little NHRA Mellow Yellow Series drag racing in July. But this past weekend, we had some great things go down in the divisional ranks. The NHRA's Alan Reinhart was up there in Epping, New Hampshire. We're going to talk about that. All great stuff. Really appreciate all you folks joining us here on Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and YouTube. The YouTube channel is growing, steadily growing. We've had some good times. We had a great time on the happy hour show on Friday. I know we're already midweek, but maybe this afternoon when it's happy hour time, you can dive on there. Courtney Enders brought us out to Houston Raceway Park. Got to see a lot of action out there, including on the starting line. Then Hannah Rickards and Jason Logan had a big karaoke off that was totally unplanned and impromptu. It was very fun. You're definitely going to want to check that out. It's been a great couple of weeks of shows and going to have a lot of fun. Keep it going. We got another happy hour this week. On Thursday, we've got Tony Schumacher. Tony returning to the sport of NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing, Global Electronic Technology, the sponsor. Brian Karate going to be tuning his and Antron Brown's car. We're going to speak with Alan Reinhart about that just seconds from now. But first, I want to say big thanks to our sponsors here on WFO Radio, the people who literally make it all possible, talking about Marvin Rodak, for instance. Hot sauces and spice rubs, everything good, grills, barbecues. I know that like Primo Grills, ceramic grills. He sells them all down there in Fort Worth, Texas. But it's really the coffee that keeps people coming back week after week, month after month, because once you try a little Rodak's coffee, you realize that it's next level stuff. Perfect for the drag racer because they've got drag racing themed blends. 817-924-6821. Also, Total Seal piston rings, the leader in ring seal technology. Mark Cronquist, head engine builder, Joe Gibbs Racing, our most recent hidden horsepower. Got a new one getting ready to drop real soon. But what is the information about? It's about how their piston rings can help you find hidden horsepower through better ring seal, whether it be their new gas-ported pistons or otherwise. Go to their website, totalseal.com. And if you're an engine builder who also likes WFO radio, this is a no-brainer. It's a pretty easy decision to make to go with Total Seal piston rings. Also, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. The Dragster Adventure going to be starting up real soon, but their classes a little smaller, social distancing, a little more intimate, but they are rolling. And if you want a super comp license, super gas license, maybe you're a bracket racer who wants to get better, maybe you want to drive an alcohol funny car, Frank Hawley can make that happen for you. It's all about the mental side. I say this all the time. You love bracket racing. You're spending entry fee money every single week, but maybe you're one of those people who hasn't had success. It's worth it to go see Frank, given his results second to none. And finally, samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed, blockhead CNC programs. If you want to become an engine builder or machinist, CNC programming, motorsport, EFI tuning. They are approved to train veterans under the GI Bill. I'm real excited to get back out after the Factory Stock podcast. Second of the Indy races will feature Factory Stock Showdown and connect with Brian Massengill. But this family has done great things for education in the automotive field. Check them out, samtech.edu. Couple other notes, WFO Radio t-shirts. You can save 20% by going to nitrofishracing.com using the promo code WFO20. WFO20. Get a WFO t-shirt or whatever you get at nitrofishracing.com. Of course, I'm WFO Joe, and it's time to roll. This man is the voice of the NHRA, and I know, because I follow him on Twitter, that old NHRA Reinhart was back in his element, meaning in an airport, on a plane, traveling from place to place, and I know he has got to be happy. AR, how are you?
Hey, Joe, I'm good. You know, I didn't realize how locked down stir crazy I was getting until this past weekend, because, you know, anybody that knows me knows I'm single, I live alone. Even I was sick of being home with me. You know, the fact that I got me out of the house, I think was good for my mental health, along with everything else. So no, it was good. We had 3 days of good weather. It was, you know, a little on the warm side for them. You know, they're all going, oh, it's 92. 25 degrees better than my house. But, you know, it was a great race. It was a really nice weekend. I don't think anybody hit anything all weekend long. Just had a couple of little minor cleanups on the racetrack throughout the course of the 3 days, and great competition. And it just felt really good to be back in the office.
No, it's great. Your Twitter handle is on the screen. We do it every week. I hope people understand, if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, that you need to follow Alan, because Alan tweets out interesting stuff. If you like drag racing, there's a lot of drag racing. He posts some history. He posts just interesting things, some funny things. But I followed you this weekend, and just you could see, it's a tweet, right? Can you see joy through a tweet? You could. You could see you're back in your element. You're happy to be there. You're happy to be around racers and racing, and that tower there, which has, it's not big on amenities, but it's big on view. The view is one of the closest to the action. And those racers up there, I always say about Epping that, it's the live free or die state. So you might think that's a little harsh, but the people are so nice and pleasant and happy to have the NHRA there.
Yeah, you're right. And it was interesting because I guess I realized it, but I didn't realize it. It just seems so strange that, here we are, third week of June. That was the first event they'd had in Division One.
Right.
The first one for the year. So, since whenever they locked down last year, which was September? So, I mean, they've been down for a long time. So everybody was really happy to be back at the racetrack. Everybody at the racetrack was happy to be there. And again, good weather, good event. It was just a good time had all the way around. But yeah, you talk about one of the beautiful things about Epping, the intimate setting. There's no place else on the tour that when you're in the tower, you feel like you're in the passenger seat of the car in the right lane. I mean, that is literally as close as you could possibly get. And it's a fun place to watch a race from. It's a fun place to announce a race from. And again, good people, good folks. We had a few spectators there, not a lot, but the track was open to have spectators, and a few of them made their way out, come out and enjoy it. Just a little bit, a little bit different. Obviously, it's going to be that way, I think, for a while.
Yes, absolutely. Results-wise, Jackie Frick. Later on this week, we're going to have Tony Schumacher. We're going to talk about that, but Jackie is also going to be on the show. She made 3 final rounds so far this year and has locked down the win at this race. And given the way the championships are going to work this year, as in, less races claimed, she's in good position. That team has had a good start. And of course, Sean Bellemere, what can you say?
I'll tell you exactly what you could say about Sean Bellemere. What?
Yeah.
How many times have I said, you can't let him get away with this. You can't do it. And, I've known Steve Boggs for a long time. Steve is the crew chief, obviously, for that machine. And he is an intense a guy as they get. And he is as focused a guy as they get. And he's also a very honest guy. He will tell you if he messed up, then he did. If he missed it, then he did. And he was really struggling with the racetrack and the weather conditions over the course of the weekend. I mean, literally in qualifying, made one good run, 1 out of 3. Now, the one he made, they went right down the racetrack and went to the number 1 spot. But the other 2, he didn't get down the track. And I spoke to him on Saturday afternoon, mask up as always. That's just the way it is now. And I said, you got anything? And he said, well, I think I know what's going on out there. But because there were 7 cars on the property, they had a bye run first round. So he goes out and shakes the tires first round. Now it's 1 for 4. In the second round, he's got to run Fred Tiggis, who has been doing it as long as anybody, especially up in that part of the world. Fred goes out there, gets the yips, leaves before the tree is activated. Bellemere blows the tires off, runs 12 seconds, and wins the race. Congratulations, you're in the final. Made 1 run out of 5, and he's in the final.
Right.
And then in the final, he's got to run Matt Gill, who has been running very well. Matt, by converse, has made 1 bad run. 2 good runs in qualifying, 2 solid runs the first 2 rounds. He comes into the final round, and I mean, if I'm him, I never felt better about having to race Sean Bellemere. And, if you got a guy that's down like that, you got to kick him. I mean, from a performance standpoint, right? Don't let him keep. So what does Bellemere do? He goes out in the final round. He has a perfect reaction time. They set the track speed record. The car goes right straight down the racetrack, and they give him a trophy for making 2 runs out of 6. I actually said going into the final that the happiest guy, or maybe the only happy guy on the Bartone, Boggs, and Bellemere team is a guy that's job is packing the parachutes because he didn't do anything all weekend.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it was funny. I talked to Sean, I talked to Steve, and I talked to Tony Bartone after the race was over. They all said the same thing. I can't believe we're standing here. They said, we got no business being here, but they just kept letting us come back and try again, and they finally got it right.
And that's something that we've spoken about many times, those intimidation victories. They're 10 feet tall. They've had such great performances. So people go out there and maybe do things they wouldn't ordinarily do, but they did them. And so now Bellemere is what, 2 for 2?
Yeah. And it's one of those things, we see it over and over and over again when somebody who on paper maybe is a little bit overmatched from a performance standpoint, and they just get pushed right out of their comfort zone, when oftentimes going down a racetrack is all they got to do to win the race. I think, I think most of the listeners here know, because they've been following for so long, that Austin Coyle and I have got a really good relationship. We, talk a lot, have over the years. He's been really open with me and helping educate me about the nitro cars and the various other stuff. And he talks about, no bones about it in the early days. In fact, we're talking Chi-Town Hustler, we're talking Frank Hawley, we're talking when they were winning championships. His philosophy wasn't, let's go set the track record. His philosophy was, let's go down the racetrack. Because in that era, so many people didn't. And, it didn't matter what a good run was, right? At the time, if a good run at the time was 6 seconds flat, you'd win a lot of races if you went 650 and just went. Because the guys that were going 6 flat would go 6 flat, and then they'd go 825, and then they'd go 950, and then they'd go 6 flat again. And all you had to do was go down the racetrack. And oftentimes, I'm a big believer that if I'm pulling up against somebody that's got me from a performance standpoint, that there's no way I can get there, I'm not getting there. But I'm not going to let him get away with it. I'm going to go down the racetrack, and if he hiccups, I want to be able to take advantage of it. I don't want him to get away with it. And, I think that some people just get pushed out of their comfort zone. I've seen it so many times, and you've seen it so many times over the years, right? When a guy pulls up, and it's like, man, this guy's been 20 on the tree all day. He's been 20, he's been 20, he's been 20. He's got Pete Biondo in the semifinals, and he goes 042 red. What are you doing?
Make him mental. Right, the mental side. And it's and that's why people keep coming back. Now that one, though, it's going to live. Those are the ones you remember forever. Like, why did I do that? Why did I do that?
And even Bellemere in the final, right? When I go down and talk to him, I go, dude, seriously, a perfect light. And he laughed and he goes, let me tell you how bad I screwed that up. He says, I went in and he said, Boggs told me, I think I figured out what to do. He said, I know it's been wrong. I didn't know how to fix it. He said, I think I figured out what to do. They piled a ton of weight on the clutch. The idea being, we need this thing to bog down because the motor was getting up in front of the car and that was driving it into shape. So piled a ton of weight on the clutch. Well, a big part of the clutches in those cars are centrifugal force activated. And Sean says, now he told me this is what I did. Just, be ready for it. Okay, so he goes in and he pre-stages and, okay, the other guy's pre-staged and he says, I whacked the throttle and blew my foot off the clutch and the car went like this. And I went, oh, God, what do I do now? And he says, I just, hit the gas and hope. And he said, the car took off and he took, and all this obviously happens very fast. But he said, when he revved it up and the car took off, he went, oh. And then he saw the green light, but there ain't no way. It went down the racetrack. And, it's just one of those things. The historians will recognize it as a hero moment, right? Yeah. A guy that didn't have a great race car and that went up and cut a perfect light and did, that's why he's a champion. And the reality of it was he went up there and completely screwed up and got away with it. And they gave him a trophy.
That's it. The winners write the history. What can you do? Sometimes things go your way. And that's why it's like, I say it, the way I like to say it is like two drivers come to the starting line and they could both have their best run ever. And one will still be the loser. And two drivers can come to the starting line, both have their worst run ever. And one will still be the winner. And like you make your analogy to bowling, you just got to beat the guy in the other lane. You could be playing a pro bowler and he have his worst day of his life and you could get around him. And so worry about you.
The other, just one last little Bellemere note, because, I've grew up.
Uh-oh.
And there were a couple of jet cars that were there. The Hannah team had two jet cars there. They weren't really part of the program. Had put a new motor.
Okay, Alan, can you hear me? You're receiving a phone call, I guess, and that has knocked out your Bluetooth.
Are you
And
seeing that?
well, yeah, I see it vibrating.
Am I back now?
Now you're good. You're
I
back.
can't hear you either.
During that vibration,
Moving up for us.
everybody saw it. It was great. Your phone was vibrating.
How about now?
Now you're bad. We got you. I hear you. Do you hear me?
Hear you.
You don't hear me. I'm going to
I
kick you
will
out.
be right back.
Yeah, I'm going to reconnect. Kick him out. There he is now. Did you see the phone vibrating? No, it was great. All right, some more questions for Alan Reinhart. We're going to get to it. I see Johnny's got one, and Monica's got one, and you guys have got one. And during this time, I want to remind you to send me a self-addressed stamped envelope to this address, P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida, and 33084, and I will send you some of these great WFO radio stickers. Everybody has been so eager to get the WFO radio stickers. And send me a self-addressed stamped envelope. And if it's big enough and it's got enough space and you actually want one, I might throw one of these. All right, we got him back. He's back. He is now back. Yeah, it was interesting, Alan. Hopefully you can hear us because it started to vibrate and we could see you vibrating ever so slightly. And then, of course, your audio got cut off. But then again, we've gotten used to perfection from the internet.
Well, no, it wasn't the internet. It was the operator on this end. I have gotten used to putting my phone on Do Not Disturb when I do this, so I don't get rudely interrupted by, people that want to clean my carpet or people that want to refinance my house or Brian Loans, who is calling in this case. So
Brian Loans.
Yeah.
I just spoke with Brian. He invited me on the NHRA Insider podcast this week or for the next episode. So I was very excited to do it. As you know, I like going on other people's show as a guest because it's like no responsibility, right? You don't have to drive. It's going for a ride. You don't even know where you're going. And we had a great conversation. So I encourage everybody to go and check out NHRA Insider, and get the latest one, subscribe, all of that stuff. But we were saying you were going to drop another Bellemere on us, a final bell.
Yeah, just the last little thing. I grew up, he was a West Coast guy. I grew up. I watched him grow up when his dad was racing and he was like the little kid running around the racetrack. And then, obviously got into juniors and got into other things. But the thing is, he's still the little kid running around the racetrack. The Hanna team was there. They had 2 jet cars, the Eastern Raider dragster and then Top Secret funny car. Then they just wanted to make a test run. My understanding is that they had put a new engine in the dragster and they had made some changes on a funny car. So they just had called Joe Lombardo and said, hey, can we come be the last 2 cars down the racetrack? We just want to make a test run. And they did. And Bellemere, after he won his race in Division 1, they run the alcohol cars, race them to conclusion on Saturday, so that their race is finished on Saturday, and Sunday is the rest of the Lucas category is finished up. But he, in his fire suit, comes running back up to the fence because he wanted to watch the jet cars. And, you could see, even though he is a funny car champion, he had just won the race here, you could see him at the fence. He's still that little junior dragster kid watching the jet cars and just going, because he still gets so excited about just being a race fan.
Well, and that's why I tell him all the time that I would love to see him in a role where he can be a leader to bring in people who don't know about the sport, because you see Sean Bellemere and he does a great job in the alcohol funny cars, but it's a ladder. I would love to see him in a big show car at some point in the future somewhere when he's comfortable and ready. I know he's a dad and he's got a lot going on, but his personality is infectious. You see him and the way he talks, everything you just described comes through. So if he likes it like that, maybe you're going to like it like that. And I think he's the kind of personality that can bring in more fans, and the way he does his deal. He's a drag racer through and through. Great stuff. What about Jack?
I will tell you that he is really happy where he is right now. The relationship he's got with Tony and with Steve, and the fact that he goes to the racetrack with a legitimate shot at winning the race week in and week out. That would be a tough ride to give up, even if he did have an opportunity to go faster. And I think right now he's enjoying where he's at. If something comes along in the future, that's great. But I don't think right now he's in any big hurry to move on.
Maybe we get Tony to go back to the big show with the team. No?
All right. Yeah. Let me know how that works out for you.
All right. All right. And so, like I said, we'll have Jackie Frick on later on in the week. What about some of the other results out there? Comp Eliminator, Pete Dagnolo over Lee Zane. Brian Warner, I believe he had to run his brother to get to the final, ultimately won. Bob Letellier with that wheel standing Camaro. Jamie Madison in Super Comp. Ray Sawyer, they have that place locked down. Justin Lopes, great racer, gets to the final. Keith Mayer with the Porsche and the rock and roll music over Brian Sawyer and Super Street. Anything else that sticks out? Any notes you want to drop on us before we move beyond Epping?
Just a couple of things. Keith's car you won't recognize. He repainted it during the off season, so it's still the same Porsche, still the same stereo, still the same guy driving it. It obviously is very good at what he does. But I don't know if he thinks he can sneak up on people because it's a different color or not. But you mentioned Pete Dagnolo. I didn't realize. I mean, I've said the name so many times. It's the first time that he had won in comp. And he beat Frank Aragona in the semis and beat Lee Zane in the final. And as I said when I was sitting there calling the race, any day you beat those two guys back to back, somebody should give you a trophy. And they did. But he and the gang were very excited about getting through there. We didn't have a huge field of comp cars, but man, we had some really, really tough ones. And for Pete to get out of there with the trophy is a great accomplishment. So it's nice to see a racer that had been doing it for so long finally get the ultimate payoff.
That is great stuff. Down there in Houston, they were racing as well. Out there at Bandamere, it was Nick Janik over Brandon Greco. And Nick, that's, from what I understand, his first time in the car. And Doug Gordon over Bill Bernard in Top Alcohol Funny Car. Don Thomas won in Comp Eliminator. So we are all over the country. We are racing.
Yeah, and one thing about Denver, I don't know if you've seen any pictures from that or not, but they had fans in the stands, and they had a lot of fans in the stands. I mean, you know, not capacity overflowing crowd by any means, but I believe they had like 6,000 plus.
Wow.
And they kind of segregated so that, you know, every other row was left open, and they certainly encouraged people to, you know, hey, social distance. If you came with a group, that's one thing, but let's keep your group separate from the other groups. But yeah, they had a lot of people out there. You know, they've been locked up for so long, and of course, in that part of the world, it's kind of the same way in New Hampshire. And I was surprised. I think we didn't have a few more fans. That the racing season is so short anyway, because, you know, you're obviously not racing when it's snowing on a racetrack. But yeah, they had a lot of fans in the place out in Denver, and they put on a good show for them.
NHRA regional race outdraws Talladega. I love it. Right?
Well, to be fair, I think if they would have let more fans come to Talladega, probably a few of them would.
All right. Well, you're ruining my spin, but that's okay. So I want to get into it about Tony Schumacher and a couple other things, but we do have people watching on the Facebook, and they're sharing the show. And go ahead.
Who?
This guy who he was pretty good in his time. He's now making a big return. He's coming back.
Who?
Tony Schumacher. But there are a couple people with some questions that are pertinent on the Facebook I do want to get into about big news that was released last week. We had Phil Burgess on, and about the dragster, and the rules for the return have now been released. And that's out there on NHRA.com. Johnny wants to know, he saw the safety protocols NHRA has implemented for spectators: masks to enter, 6 feet apart, submit to temperature check. What do you think about that? Does it seem realistic? 6 feet apart in the sands is obviously impossible. I don't see why that's impossible. So are capacity restrictions, are they going to rope off the bleachers to keep fans separate? Wants to know Johnny. First of all, my thought is that seems pretty doable. I did a temperature check to go bracket racing. They just tagged me with it. I was good. I have a mask at all times everywhere I go and wear it whenever I need to. And the other one, nobody's getting closer than 6 feet to me, man, because I will move. So I don't see the problem from that perspective, Johnny. What say you, Alan?
I agree with what you're saying, Joe. I think that, you know, people need to take a little responsibility. And again, I think it's about groups, right? If you come, you know, your family of 4, or, you know, you and your buddy and your girlfriends and your whatever, you guys come as a group, nobody has a problem with you being together. Let's just keep your group separate from, you know, the other groups. And, you know, obviously they're not going to be selling the grandstands out to capacity. So when you sell, and I honestly don't know as far as reserve seats and that kind of thing, I don't believe there's going to be anybody in the grandstands with a machine gun going, you know, hey, you're not supposed to be in B5.
Right.
But I believe that they're going to kind of like try to, as Denver did, you know, keep specific rows. Maybe if you've got every other row that's designated for seating. But I think as long as if it's your group and you leave 6 feet and then there's the other group, then everybody's going to be fine. And I'm kind of with you. I'm not hiding in a closet and living in danger and afraid to go outside or, peek through the hole in my door. But if I walk into a place and there's 40 people all clustered over in the corner, I ain't going there. You know what? I'll just go sit over here because I don't know who they are. And since you can't necessarily tell if somebody's sick or not, everybody I know that's gone through this, the vast majority of them have been sick for a few days and then got over it. And if I should happen to contract it, please, please, please let that be me. But when I listen to what Todd Smith had to say, and when I listen to what Bobby had to say, Competition Plus, and when I listen to Jock Irvin Allen, I don't want that, and no. I don't want to find out if I'm one of those guys. I would just as soon stay away. And again, if it's your group, nobody's going to come tell you and your wife that you have to sit 6 feet apart, or you and your son that you have to sit 6 feet apart. But just be smart, keep your distance from the other groups, because literally you don't know if they're sick any more than they know if you're sick. And so it's easier just to stay apart.
Simple as that. And like Dave is out there, Johnny, I'm going to the second of the 2 Indy races. I'm going to do whatever they tell me to do. I miss going racing. And that has been my attitude. It's complex enough as it is. What do they say that we need to do? I'm ready to do it. If I got to hop on one foot through the staging lanes with a mask on my head, okay, I like drag racing. I'm ready to do it. Simple as...
Okay, if you bring the announcer a suitcase full of hundreds,
yes,
he can get you a sweet pass.
Exactly. You will get a gallon of sanitizer poured over your head immediately, and it will be great. All right, so the big news...
That's a joke, by the way.
Yes, it is a joke, people. That happens from time to time here on the show. Tony Schumacher is the return. This is something that we've all kind of wondered what was up in that. We want Tony to be back exactly how he wants to be back. Tony is a champion driver, one of our greatest drivers, if not our greatest driver. And all last year was spent navigating for the perfect deal. They were I felt like, from what I understand, they were on the 1 yard line a couple of times and just things didn't work out. It's really tough to punch it in. This moment, given where it is, the sponsor, Stephen Samantha Global, the connection with Brian Karate, DSR, Antron. I hear Antron was very much a part of this. I think it is really a perfect opportunity for Tony to come back, and a good news story for the sport of drag racing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, it's going to get some eyeballs on us that, might not have been. I think we're going to get a lot of new ones simply because there aren't a lot of other sports going on out there right now. NASCAR obviously is active, but, no baseball, no basketball. There's a lot of stuff not happening. So that leaves a big void that needs to be filled, and NHRA will be happy to step in and do what we can. But I think it will also bring a lot of eyeballs back that want to see if Tony's as good as he was, if he's rusty, if he's been. And I can tell you, I have not spoken to Tony since the announcement came out, but I have spoken to Tony regularly through this whole downtime thing, keeping track of him and what's going on, and he's ready. And I think the one thing he said that really made a lot of sense to me is he said, I need people to understand that I'm not the Army guy, because that was one of the things that I think was a bit of a hurdle. For 20 years, he was the Army guy, short hair, clean cut, in the uniform, doing it, talking to the kids at the school and the perception was he's the Army guy. Now, I think a lot of sponsors looked at that and thought, I don't necessarily want an Army guy representing my company. Not that I'm against the Army, but maybe I want somebody who's a little more free flowing of a personality, somebody who's a little looser with their lips or with their jokes or with, if your company is a very buttoned down, very structured company, Tony would probably have been the Army guy might have been a great fit for you. But if your company is more of and just to pull this out of the hat because he was on a show couple, a Gary Selsey type, right? Sure. Hey, we go to the office, we have fun, we goof off, we bust each other's chops. The perception is that Tony can't be that guy because for 20 years you've seen him as the Army guy. And I think the opportunity for him to come out and go, hey, I can represent your brand, your company, the way that you want it done. Don't look at me as just the Army guy. If that's what you're looking for, I can do that. But if there's something else that you're looking for, tell me what it is and give me a shot at it. Because, people that know Tony know. He's got a good sense of humor. He's a bright guy. He's pretty sharp. He doesn't mind firing the comebacks and doing the. But when he was the Army guy, that wasn't part of the program, right? The program was discipline, focus on the goal, do what you came to do, make sure you get the job done, be a machine. That was his job, and he did it perfectly. And whatever his job is going to be defined going forward, he's going to be able to do that. But he needs to break the mold. It's almost like being a character actor, right?
Exactly.
If you always get cast as, oh, well, that's just the big, dumb, funny guy, the brother-in-law type that always is tripping over stuff and screwing up, nobody's ever going to look at you and go, he can play the serious guy in my drama. And you've got to show people that you can bust out of that moment.
Like our great friend Jason Logan, who is pigeonholed into shooting T-shirts, and he's got so
Right.
much more talent and ability.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, he can sing Pavarotti and it'll put tears in your eyes.
It will. We witnessed on Friday. It was pretty amazing. We had Hannah and Jason do a karaoke off. And
He did Pavarotti?
No, he did. I forget what he did because they both did Elvis, and Hannah defeated him handily. But he did pretty well. It's just she's an amazing singer. Who knew? I did not know that. It's funny though that no good deed goes unpunished, right? Here's a guy who I'm sure when he got the Army deal, let's think back to that time. That was we'll ask him on Thursday, an intimidating situation. Like he wanted to do a great job and be the Army guy, and it lasted 20 years. And he did such a great job that it's now maybe been a hurdle to undo it, the Army guy deal. I have a feeling though, Tony is what made Tony Schumacher is his driving ability and his candor. He just says it. He did a good job in the booth when he was on with Brian and Tony. And I'm just happy to have him back. And I know he's got legions of fans. He genuinely does. And they need to come out. That's it, as best as they can, or watch on TV and root on their driver.
Yeah. And hopefully I'm not letting anything out of the bag, but I think there may be another big name from the past that makes a cameo appearance at one or both of the Indy events before it's all over with as well. So I don't think all the breaking news has broken yet.
That is good. Right. And that's been teased. It's a big tease coming at the end of the week. You know what else? The social media thing, being part of the Army, probably not. Like Tony's sponsorship ran from before iPhone, before mobile device, before social media, over the invention and innovation and adoption to normalcy with it. And as the Army driver to go out and develop this social media following within the constraints of, frankly, a government sponsorship and the role of the Army guy, that had to be really challenging because what people want on social media is a little different. And I think that might have been a little bit of a handicap. I want to see this guy get a good opportunity to start fresh. And Steve, Samantha, and Global, they're the perfect ones because they've got a great business where I think he's going to be able to just do whatever he wants. It's a 2-race deal from what I understand, but a chance for him to show that he can still do it and do it at a high level.
And a chance for him to get out there. Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think that, I'm certainly not saying he's going to win the 2 races, but I guarantee you that they're going to know he was there before it's all said and done, coming up with obviously great equipment, Brian Perotti. And you almost seem like it's an unfair advantage, don't you? I mean, everybody's going to have 2 qualifying shots. And then obviously you go right into race day. And how many times you heard information, right? The more information you get, the reason you run 2 Pro Stock cars, the reason is because you want more information. Well, Brian all of a sudden is going to have more information.
Yes.
He's going to have some more responsibility, but I don't think it'll surprise anybody that Tony's going to go out there and be a factor. And again, I'm not saying he's going to win both the races, but I think he's going to go out there and be a factor. You're going to know he was there by the time it's over.
He is pretty good in Indy. That's a place that he's pretty good at.
Yeah. Does it count though?
No.
That's going to be a debate that's going to have to go on because it wouldn't be a U.S. Nationals win, but if you win at Indy, you win at Indy.
You win in Indy. He's won Indy. That's true. Well, we'll see. we shall see how it all works out. But funny how wrapped in every feel good story, there's a competitive advantage story.
Yeah, well,
great? Tony's back, and it's like, yeah, 2 more qualifying runs, more data. Thank you very much.
it's a competitive sport.
Exactly. It is. It is. A couple of stories that we haven't touched on. I just want to make sure our listeners know, like Pro Mod coming back, of course. They have altered the points, the way the points are awarded. They basically have 3 races that are going to be non-points instead of all 12 races being points. They're giving the race teams off just because those guys, it's a challenge to do 12. The 12 was something that we had to negotiate for, and to do that many in a row is going to be a challenge. So they work together with the teams to come up with something that was acceptable to everybody. And so they'll get points on 9 of those races.
Yeah, and I think something that everybody needs to understand is the issue isn't, are they capable of doing it? Are they professional enough? Are they committed enough? Because the answer to that is absolutely yes, they are. But the vast majority of those guys are businessmen, and racing is kind of their sideline. And so if you are in a business, like if you run a multi-million-dollar conglomeration like WFO Radio, for instance,
Of course,
you schedule, okay, I'm going to take this week off to go racing. I'm going to take this week off to go racing. I'm going to take this week off to go racing. But you probably can't say, okay, I'm going to take the next 8 weeks in a row off to go racing. Because if you're not paying attention to WFO Radio, you don't have the budget to go spend on the race cars. And so I think that's a big part of this. Wasn't the fact that, the teams aren't capable or that they couldn't do it. It's the fact that the owners, who in most cases are the drivers, they have to keep their eye on their businesses. And especially in a situation like right now, where everybody is keeping a close eye on business, just because the whole world has changed. You've got to be on top of it. If you've got to make a change, if you've got to make an adjustment, if you've got to do something, you need to be able to be there and get it done. Not go, well, call me back in 3 weeks and I'll see if we can't schedule a meeting.
No, it's all hands on deck right now. And we know the importance of the economy, and we have to keep that going, and to be off spending money, running race cars, X amount of weeks in a row. It's going to be a balance. And I thought it showed empathy from the NHRA, like, let's work it out. And that's why all of these things that are happening, they're all challenging in their own way, whether it be fans or social distancing or masks or racing or points or otherwise. Everybody is doing the best they can to come up with the best possible outcome. And that makes me proud. We're overcoming the obstacle.
And I think, I literally just finished will be my next National Dragster column. I sent it in to Phil this morning. And the biggest issue that I had was getting it short enough to fit. Because what I decided to go with as a subject was basically, what we've all been going through and where we're going from here. And when you've got a word limit, it's really easy to get into some of the nuances and stuff of, and I think that there's a lot that the average fans don't know it. That's part of why I was writing the column. I don't know, how many casual fans understand just how much communication there was between NHRA and the team owners. And I'm not talking about just John Force, Don Schumacher, Connie Coletta, but I'm talking about the fact that, the Wilkersons of the world, the Cruz Pedregans of the world, the guys, the Torrances, the guys that have 1 or 2 cars, but are such a big part of the sport, to try to make sure that everybody understood what we're trying to do, what we're looking at doing. And, suggestions came from everywhere. How many years have you heard people talk about, why don't they just do a 2-day event, right? Qualify Friday night, race Saturday night, or qualify Saturday, race Sunday. All the things and yeah, it's not a bad idea. Maybe someday, but this is an opportunity for anything that's ever been suggested. Let's see if we can make it, if it could realistically work, if that's something that we can do. And there was so much behind the scenes stuff going on that, I think the average fan just doesn't understand. I know from some of the social media stuff and some of the, people go, well, we haven't heard anything from NHRA for 3 weeks. They must all be on a beach someplace. That wasn't the case. You hadn't heard anything because they didn't have anything to report. They wanted to wait until we have something solid that we can share. And I understand the philosophy of doing that as a very, very small business owner. That, I don't want to tell my customers every day, well, we hope this, well, maybe that, well, we thought about this. I want to wait until I can say, look, here's something that is going to happen, or at least here's something that I put a lot of thought into, and this is my focus. This is what we're going to try to make happen. And if that means you don't hear from me for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, that's because I'm working it out. It's not because I'm doing nothing. And that there was so much of that stuff going on behind the scenes that, the average fan, I think, just wasn't aware of. So anyway, that I think a lot of that is going to come to the forefront now. The fact that all the dialogue that was going on between the teams and the NHRA, and then you throw in, the track operators and the local governments and everything that we've talked about from week to week. If you sit down and you go, okay, here is a perfect plan. This is what we're going to do. We talked to everybody in Denver and they're on board. Okay. The guy in Richmond doesn't think that'll work. Okay, here we go again. Start all over. And so that's been part of the challenge as well. So there's just anyway, but a lot of challenges that have been overcome. There still are going to be some hurdles. There still certainly are going to be some hiccups, but let's get back on the racetrack and then work at it from that angle instead of working at it from out here, hoping let's get back and then find out what we got to tweak.
Exactly. Seeing the divisional racing go off the way it has, knowing the racers are able to run their equipment, that's good. And I want to see the big show stuff. Here's a question from Derek, who has just always got good technical questions. The phrase swapping feet, explain.
Swapping feet is something that is done in an alcohol car or a pro mod if it's got a clutch in it. And these days, it's almost exclusively an alcohol car. And what swapping feet means is that when you're driving a car that has a manual transmission and you have to rev it up, then you've got your right foot partially down and your left foot ready to come up. And when it's time to go, you swap. Your right foot goes down, your left foot comes up. Now, you really don't swap feet in a pro stock car because even though you are launching that with a clutch, but your right foot is on the floor. A pro stock car uses a two-step. So in a pro stock car, you push the clutch down with your left. And then when you're fully staged and it's time to go, you push the throttle all the way to the floor. When it's time to go, you just drop one foot. The clutch comes up, the car takes off. But in an alcohol funny car, you're not allowed that two-step. So what you've got to do is hold the clutch down, ease down on the throttle a little, get the RPM up where you want it, ease up on the clutch a little in order to get the car to roll into the beams, because a clutch car in an alcohol funny car or dragster, you don't use a trans brake, you don't use a button. So you've got this foot a little bit down, you got this foot a little bit up, and when the tree flashes, you swap. And that's where the term swap feet came from.
I think that's a great example, and it's not easy. That's the thing, is you think, yeah, I'm going to get in one of these cars, I'm going to drive it. And I'm saying it's not easy. I've never done it. I've never tried it, but I have watched people do it. And I think about all that's going on, the sound of the engine sitting on top of that thing. And you've got to be the same every time. Otherwise, you're going to throw the tune-up off. Things will be different if you're a little early with one or the other. And to make your body work like that perfectly, that's where the talent is. It's a bit of athleticism.
It is, but I think it's like anything else that repetitive helps. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. It's kind of a tough thing to master, but once you figure it out, then you've kind of got it. It's like riding a unicycle. Once you figure out how to balance on a unicycle, you know how to balance on a unicycle. Can you tell somebody how to do that? No. You got to try. You can tell somebody that until the end of time. Once you figure it out, you got it. Johnny Gray was telling me about learning to fly the helicopter when he bought a helicopter, and he says gets into the instructor, and they say, okay, we're gonna hover, and the instructor says, look, here's what you got to do, right? Here's the throttle, here's the pitch, here's the tail, and this is what you got to do. Got it. Johnny takes over the controls and goes, he's like, what am I doing wrong? I said, everything. He said, I can't tell you. Practice. And once you get it, you got it. And he said, it was exactly that. You get where it's like a little, okay. And then once you figure out, okay, and now you can do this, because you got it. It's just once you figure out what that balance is, what that timing is, you're going to be fine.
Dave says blown alky dragsters, they swap feet as well.
Yeah, alcohol dragster, alcohol funny car, if you don't have a torque converter.
There you go. Mike Heiner wants to know, it looks like you need more shipping boxes, he says. Like you've given up all the boxes.
Yeah, I actually posted something on Twitter the other day that said, my name's Alan and I'm a shipping box hoarder. Hi, Alan. But the other day, I needed a box, and I had it.
You had it.
it.
Yeah.
I was so proud. That's like one of those great moments that, it makes all the rest of it worthwhile because, every time I get something, it's like, I'm not throwing the box away. It's a perfectly good box. It's great. Someday I might need that. And then pretty soon they get so high that I can't see the mill. And you go, okay, well, it's time to like pare these down a little bit. And then inevitably the next day, either I need or, one of my shop neighbors comes over and goes, you got a box about this big? And I go, yeah, I just flattened 18 of them and threw them away yesterday.
I agree. I'm not going to complain about that. I've been accused of being a hoarder of various things. I came up with the, Kifa, keep everything forever, always. And the second you throw it away, you're going to need it. I don't know who I was talking to recently. They said, what's your advice to the next generation? Don't throw anything away because the second you do, you're going to need it. It's like, oh my gosh, you better have a big warehouse then. Simple as that. Alan, final thoughts, anything we need to be thinking about as we get ready for a little NHRA drag racing? We're getting closer. What is it, 18 days away or so? The divisional races, I know D2 is in action at Galat this weekend. There's good stuff happening. Everybody's working. We're going to have very well prepared teams when they come back. Everybody will have prepared as much as you can prepare. You always say, like, if you don't set a date, no one will ever be ready. I think in this case, they would have been ready.
You might be right. But I guarantee you, when those trucks come rolling out of the shop at Brownsburg, somebody's going to forget something. They're going to, run back to the shop and get me one of these. But I think that's part of why they're doing the soft launch, as it were, right there in Indy. No, I just, look forward to seeing everybody back out at the racetrack. Keep in mind, no matter where you are in the country, your local track is probably open or trying to do something. My local racetrack out here is doing some more drive-in movie stuff because they're trying to, you've still got to pay the electric bill. You've still got to keep something going on. So let's support your local racetrack. Even though the Nitro cars are not going to be on track for another couple of weeks, I will be in Lebanon Valley in a couple of weeks for the Division 1 race up there. But, see what your local track is doing. If they've got something going on and you want to get out and support them, get out and support them, whether it's a bracket race or whether it's a drive-in movie or whatever it is, because they're suffering just like every other business out there right now. So if you got an opportunity to help, please do.
Totally agree. Alan, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. And we get closer. We're inching closer to a little NHRA Mellow Yellow drag racing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe. Always a pleasure. I got to call Loans back and see what he was so rudely interrupted us for.
Yeah, tell Loans I said, what's up? And thanks for earlier. It was great. We're all connected to social media, digital stuff. It's amazing. All right, Alan, thank you.
All right, Joe. Take care.
There he goes. NHRA's Alan Reinhart with us here on WFO Radio. Always some great points and things to think about. Good questions from you guys here on WFO. Later this week, Tony Schumacher going to be on the show. That is the plan. And Jackie Frick also going to be on the show, going to talk about her win 3 final rounds here at the start of the 2020 season for Jackie, who was one of our happy hour guests. And now has won a race. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the whole Top Alcohol Championships come down. Couple of points. Would love for you to follow me on Instagram or on Twitter Machine, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Write a review of the podcast. 5 stars, write a review. You enjoy it. You like it. Now, a lot of people have been telling me, like, well, we watch it on the Facebook, right? We watch on Facebook and on YouTube, of course. Click the bell on YouTube. But for those of you who have got to drive, have got to go, you got to work, you can't be watching something all the time. The audio of these shows are available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we do a show that is specifically for the podcast. That is our Ignition show. It is entertainment. WFO Radio t-shirts, 20% off. Use the promo code WFO20. This is it, the Podfather of Drag Racing 10-year anniversary t-shirt available at nitrofishracing.com. But that WFO20 gets you 20% off of everything at nitrofishracing.com. Still got people asking about the WFO masks. It's like final call on the masks, guys. We went through those masks like gangbusters. It was pretty crazy how much people wanted them, and I really appreciate it. Plus, Hannah won one with the karaoke championship. But pretty amazing. We might do a second run of the masks. And it's the kind of thing that you got to have them now. You never know where you're going to go that you need the mask. I know you've all been keeping up with the numbers, and I don't need to go into that. But there are some places where numbers are going up. There are some places where numbers are going down. Like I've said from the beginning, stay vigilant. Do what you're supposed to do. And do your best to not be the one who gets it or passes it forward. Simple as that. Hand sanitizer everywhere. Just get a lot of hand sanitizer. WFO stickers, P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida, 33084, care of Castello Media, WFO stickers. Let's see what these people got to say. A couple more comments before we roll. My kiddo loved his mask. Well, thank you so much for bothering to want a mask. First of all, some people, the anti-maskers, they refuse to wear the mask, period. And the only reason they feel that is because they didn't get the deal or know someone who got the deal. If you get the deal, you're wearing the mask. That's the way I look at it, right? When later this week? Thursday and Friday is when we have been doing our shows. Thursday and Friday, 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Eastern will be Tony Schumacher and Jackie Frick, and they will be on just like this. That is the intention at very least. And then Friday will be a happy hour show. Dave Miller, who works on the Nitro Ninja, you didn't see the Dom Lagana episode? You didn't see Dom and Bobby, Nitro Dave? Come on. That was one of our most popular episodes. Everybody loved it because, first of all, Dom came on the show, and we talked about Dom, and we talked about the ramp truck, and we talked about Bobby and the brothers, and we talked about fire burnouts. And Bob Z sent in a whole bunch of photographs that were fantastic, and we loved it. Also recently, Matt Hartford, Will Hanna, Phil Burgess, all of that is available on our WFO Radio Facebook page. And when you start a watch party, I don't know if you know this, when you start a watch party, it spreads the show around to everybody. That is great. What else? Let's see. Jackie Frick is my favorite driver and an Eagles fan. So there you go. Nobody's perfect, right? Jackie, definitely great driver. Eagles fan, whatever. You guys won a Super Bowl. You should be happy. Enough. It's the Dolphins time now, baby. We got to move into Dolphin time. Bobby Graham, atta girl Jackie. Yes, very excited. You might want to make a bunch more. I'm thinking about it, but maybe moving the logo to the side. I don't know. They've been very popular. And this is all Randy Lynn ship. When I tell you guys about nitrofishracing.com and use the promo code WFO20 and you can get 20% off of all of their stuff, you know, it's because we have people that are invested for whatever reason in helping us. And Bo Butner and Randy Lynn Ship have helped WFO Radio in a couple of different ways. One was facilitating the creation of our WFO Radio t-shirt, the 10th anniversary t-shirt, which I did rudimentary, like childlike artwork. And they had it done, and it's available in the Nitrofish trailer at nitrofishracing.com. So buying one of those shirts is great. But they made it so easy. And on that note, if you're a racer, if you're a business, you need t-shirts, call them. Because they have artists waiting, like multiple artists. Like, well, what do you want it to look like? How do you want it to be? What's the attitude? What's the flavor? What's the flair? How do you want the shirt to look? And they can do it. So not only can you get a WFO Radio t-shirt at nitrofishracing.com, but you can have your own shirts made by them, and they can facilitate things and take it off your desk. You obviously have to pay, but it's so easy. They're so helpful. But we've also got other great sponsors, people who help. The coffee. I'm always telling you, get the coffee. What do you think? When this show had no listeners, Marvin Rodak was a listener, and he emailed in about bacon. We're talking bacon recipes, and next thing you know, he's sponsoring the show. And in those first couple of years, I guarantee this dude lost money. And now we've got people all around the country that are ordering coffee and hot sauce and spice rub, and maybe going there to buy a grill if they live in Fort Worth, Texas. Why wouldn't you? Marvin Rodak. Thank you, Marvin. Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. Gas-ported rings. If you're an engine builder and you're a racer and you're not using Total Seal rings and you love WFO Radio, and I'm telling you, they're making horsepower, and this group of engine builders that's on Hidden Horsepower is telling you to try them, and you're not trying them, I don't know. I don't know what to say. You must be getting the rings for free elsewhere else, because I can't think of another reasonable deal. Go to TotalSeal.com. Find out more information. People like Frank and Lana Hawley, one of our earliest sponsors on WFO Radio. Not everybody is going to want to drive an alcohol funny car or get their super gas license. But there are plenty of bracket racers who want the winning edge to get better. And sitting and working directly with Frank Hawley, you might think, oh, this guy's a nitro funny car driver. He can't tell me about bracket racing. That's just false. It's the mental side that puts them over the top. And of course, samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed. That's their tagline. But really, it's about getting an education. Who am I talking about? Young people, people in their 20s or early 30s who want to get a career in high performance engine building, CNC, aerospace, anything with a CNC machine. Who's going to be programming those things? Who's going to be doing that work? Samtech grads, that is the point. Really appreciate. Also, Steve Brenwald, who does our graphic arts. The Friday happy hour guest is supposed to be Kenny Youngblood, renowned automotive artist. Kenny we've been talking about having him on the show for a long time, and it just never felt right to me, because how do you have an artist talk about their art without having the visual? And so 4 p.m. Friday, Kenny Youngblood's going to be on. We're going to talk about some of the art that he has created over the years and the people he has worked with. And I hope it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to have a beverage, which is really my highest priority. But Jason Logan has been doing a great job. Courtney Enders, Hannah, go back and check that one out. All right, last seconds. Great masks generate conversation. That's the thing. Who are you guys? What is that? WFO. It's a great podcast. WFO. It's Motorsports Drag Racing, NHRA Drag Racing. WFO shirts in our future, maybe one or two. Use that promo code WF 20% off. Not as shiny, though. I am moving so quickly, I don't know exactly what that is referring to. Love you, Joe, but your Dolphins suck. Oh, no, he didn't say that. That's just what I thought. Because it is true, but we have new people in power positions, and we've got a new starting quarterback, and things are going to be great. Kenny has been my buddy since the mid-'80s. No, he's got so many great stories, and I'm going to be diving into research for that one. That's why we only do every other week with a super guest, and we have Courtney Enders and Jason Logan, who have been so kind to be our every other week guests, and Hannah Rickards came on as well. There you go. We'll talk about all of that on Friday. It's been kind of a tough couple of weeks for a lot of people. I'm sure many of you have been following what's been going on in NASCAR. And here's my thing. NHRA drag racing in general, is maybe a little bit off the radar to the mainstream world. And maybe that's a bad thing, or maybe it's a good thing. It all depends on how you want to look at it. But one thing I can tell you about my experience is going back to the earliest times in drag racing. This is something that I'm proud of, that I like, and maybe one of the reasons subconsciously why I'm here. It's always been very inclusive for my lifetime. I know Shirley went through some very challenging times, and there were others who went through challenging times many, many years ago. Of course, there's going to be an individual here or there that does something, but I love our sport because of the people in our sport. I love there's diversity of all kinds, age diversity. You've got old people competing against, 18-year-olds and national events. You've got just great, inclusive people that don't care about anything except how quick you can go, how fast you can get there, how hard you can work, how much you can apply yourself. And that's great. It's really a model for others, and a good time to share that model. I love that. As there are people who believe that. There are people who don't understand it yet. Anyway, that's going to do it. Dave, thank you for being. Dave's been like co-host of the show. I don't agree with that. I like it, but I like all forms of racing. I like Formula One. I like IndyCar. It's got wheels, an engine, and a driver. I'm interested, but Monica says it right. NHRA does feel like a big, happy family. And even when people are not getting along, big, happy family. Go to samtech.edu. You'll be able to get a job even through this debacle. Says Bobby Graham, who is a machinist. So there you go. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Share the show. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time right here on WFO Radio.